For 19-year-old Ben Thompson, the pressure of university exam week was a physical weight. The endless nights in the library, the mountains of textbooks, the constant gnawing fear of failure all conspired to tie his stomach in knots. And like many of his friends, he had discovered a secret weapon to combat the stress: small, sweet, cannabis-infused gummies. In his mind, it wasn't a crime. It was medicine, a harmless little cheat code to help him relax and focus. Everyone does it, he would tell himself. It's not like it's a real drug. His father, Mr. Thompson, would have vehemently disagreed. He was a successful lawyer, a man whose entire life was built on a foundation of rules, reputation, and the absolute letter of the law. The idea of his son engaging in any illegal activity, no matter how minor, was his worst nightmare. Ben knew this, and it made the secrecy of his new habit all the more thrilling. The day his world unraveled, he was deep in the silent, hallowed halls of the university library, a fortress of academic stress. He had just popped a gummy, waiting for the familiar, gentle wave of calm to wash over him as he faced a brutal chapter on contract law. Suddenly, a piercing, deafening alarm shattered the silence. A fire alarm. Students jolted up from their desks, a collective groan of frustration echoing through the vast room as they began the slow, orderly march of evacuation. As they were being let back into the building 20 minutes later, a campus security guard, a large, imposing man on high alert after the false alarm, was doing random bag checks. Ben, his heart suddenly pounding for a different reason, tried to slip past, but the guard's eyes landed on him. "You son," the guard said, his voice a low rumble. "Let me see your backpack." Panic, cold and sharp, shot through Ben. "I'm late for a study session," he stammered, his mind racing. "It will just take a moment," the guard replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. With trembling hands, Ben slid the backpack off his shoulder. The guard unzipped the main compartment and began rummaging through the textbooks. And then, his hand emerged holding the small, unlabeled metal tin where Ben kept his gummies. "And what have we here?" the guard asked, opening the tin. The sweet, unmistakable scent of cannabis wafted into the air. Ben's world tilted on its axis. The next few minutes were a blur of shame and fear. He was escorted through the crowded library lobby, past the curious, staring eyes of his fellow students, to the sterile, windowless campus security office. The security chief, a stern man with a no-nonsense demeanor, laid out the facts. Possession of a controlled substance on campus, a serious violation of the university's code of conduct. "You're lucky we're not calling the actual police," the chief said, his voice cold. "But university policy for a student living at home is clear. We are legally obligated to inform your emergency contact." He picked up the phone on his desk and began to dial. Ben watched, horrified, as if seeing his own execution being arranged. "Yes, may I speak to Mr. Thompson, please?" the chief said into the receiver. There was a pause. "Mr. Thompson?" "Yes. This is Chief Miller from the University Security Office. We need you to come down to the main campus. We have your son Ben in our custody." The arrival of Ben's father was not a whirlwind of parental panic. It was a display of cold, legal precision. Mr. Thompson walked into the security office, his expensive suit immaculate, his face a mask of controlled, professional fury. He didn't look at his son. He addressed the security chief, his voice the calm, measured tone of a lawyer handling a case. He reviewed the report, asked a few pointed questions, and signed the necessary paperwork with a steady hand. The entire process was efficient, quiet, and utterly terrifying. The car ride home was a tomb of suffocating silence. Ben sat in the passenger seat, drowning in shame, expecting an explosion of rage that never came. The quiet was far worse. As they pulled into their own driveway, his father finally spoke, his voice like ice. "Did you know," he began, not looking at Ben, "that possession of that substance, even a small amount, is a misdemeanor in the state? Did you know that possession on a university campus can lead to immediate expulsion and a permanent mark on your academic record? Did you know that such a record could prevent you from ever being admitted to the bar, should you choose to follow in my footsteps?" "Dad," Ben stammered. "You didn't think." His father cut him off, finally turning to look at him, his eyes burning with a righteous anger. "You, the son of a lawyer, broke the law, risked your entire future, and brought this shame to my doorstep. For what? To relax? Your problems are just beginning. Inside, The house felt like a courtroom. His father led him to the home office, a room lined with shelves of imposing law books. "You have embarrassed me, and you have embarrassed yourself," Mr. Thompson said, his voice echoing in the quiet room. "You have shown a profound lack of judgment and a complete disregard for the law and the rules of your university. That requires a lesson, not just in consequences, but in discipline." He walked over to his large oak desk, and from the bottom drawer, he retrieved a long, flat, heavy wooden ruler. It was a tool of precision, of straight lines and clear boundaries. "You have behaved like a reckless juvenile," he stated, his voice now grim, "and you will be disciplined as such. You will bend over the arm of that chair." Then, his face flushed. With a humiliation so intense it made his head spin, did as he was told. He leaned over the leather armchair, his body trembling, awaiting the verdict. The first strike of the ruler was a loud, sharp crack that seemed to shake the very books on the shelves. A bolt of pure, stinging pain shot through him, forcing a cry from his lips. "That," his father's voice boomed, "is for breaking the law." Crack. The second blow landed with punishing force. "That is for disrespecting your university." Crack. "And that is for the shame you brought upon this family." After 5 hard, memorable strikes, his father stopped. Ben was sobbing, not just from the fiery, intense sting, but from the crushing weight of his foolishness. "Now, we will discuss your legal and academic situation," his father said, returning to his lawyerly tone. "The university is placing you on academic probation. You will be required to attend a mandatory drug counseling program. You will not miss a single session. As for me, your freedom is forfeit. You are grounded for the remainder of the summer. Your car keys are mine. Your phone will be checked every night. And to understand the real-world cost of your actions, you will use your own savings to pay the $500 legal consultation fee I will now have to charge myself for handling this mess." The following week, Ben sat in his first mandatory counseling session, humbled and thoughtful. His father was waiting in the car to pick him up. They didn't talk much on the way home, but the silence wasn't angry anymore. It was a quiet, somber space where a new, more mature understanding was being built. Ben had always seen rules as arbitrary obstacles, things to be bent or broken for his own convenience. But he had learned, through a sharp, stinging lesson and the cold reality of almost losing his future, that the rules were not the cage. They were the foundation, and his, for the first time, was finally being built on solid ground. Leo, lost in the digital world of his game, didn't notice his father at first. It was a sudden chill in the air, a shift in the atmosphere, that made him turn. He saw his father standing in the doorway, his face like stone, and the triumphant sounds of the game died on Leo's lips. He knew instantly that his carefully constructed world of lies had just been demolished. Mr. Grant walked into the room without a word. He reached into his pocket, took out the crumpled progress report, and placed it on the desk next to the glowing monitor. "Explain this," he said, his voice quiet, but carrying the immense weight of his disappointment. "Dad," Leo stammered, his mind grasping for a final, desperate lie. "It's not as bad as it looks. There's a big final project that will bring it up." "Stop," his father commanded, his voice sharp as steel. "Do not lie to me again. I am an engineer, Leo. I deal in facts. The fact is, you are failing. The fact is, you hid it from me. The fact is, you were willing to throw away a $100,000 scholarship and your entire future because you were too lazy to do the work and too cowardly to face the consequences. Those are the only facts that matter right now." He leaned in, his eyes burning with a righteous anger. "I am not angry about the grade. A grade can be fixed. I am angry about the lie. I am angry about the disrespect to your own potential. You have acted not like the brilliant young man I raised, but like a foolish, irresponsible child." He straightened up. "And since you have chosen to behave like a child, you will be disciplined like one. A lesson in accountability is required." He walked over to the closet, opened it, and from the back, he retrieved his old, thick leather work belt. It was a symbol of his trade, of the hard work and discipline he lived by. "You have broken the most fundamental contract of this family, honesty," he said, his voice grim. "You will now face the penalty for that breach. You will bend over the end of your bed." A wave of hot, absolute shame washed over Leo. He was a high school senior, a man in his own mind, but his actions had reduced him to this. Weeping silently, he did as he was told, the humiliation a far sharper pain than anything he was about to feel. The first strike of the heavy belt was a loud, explosive crack that echoed in the silent room. He cried out, a raw gasp of shock and pain. That, his father's voice said, firm and clear, is for the failure you accepted. Crack. The second blow landed with punishing force. That is for the secret you kept. Crack. The third and final strike was a definitive, humbling impact that left him sobbing into his bedspread. Now, stand up, his father commanded. After a long moment, Leo slowly pushed himself up, his body trembling, his backside burning with a fiery, intense sting. Your life of leisure is over, mister, Grant stated, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. Your gaming console and your phone are now mine. They are privileges, and you have lost them. You will earn them back when your grade in physics is a B or higher. Until then, your evenings are mine as well. That night began Leo's academic boot camp. His father sat with him at the dining room table for 2 hours, a stack of physics textbooks between them. He didn't just supervise, he worked. He went through every chapter, every formula, his engineer's mind, deconstructing the subject with a logical precision that, for the first time, made sense to Leo. Night after night, the routine was the same. No games, no friends, no phone, just hard, focused work under his father's watchful, demanding eye. It was the most difficult academic month of Leo's life. He was forced to confront his laziness, to push through his senioritis, and to truly work for his future. A month later, the final report card arrived. Leo opened it with trembling hands. He scanned the list of grades and there it was. Physics, B-. It wasn't an A, but it was a victory, a hard-won battle against his own worst instincts. He walked into the garage and handed the report to his father, who was working at his bench. Mr. Grant looked at it, then at his son. He didn't smile, but a single, proud nod was all the validation Leo needed. You saved your future, son, he said quietly. No, Dad, Leo replied, his voice full of a new, hard-earned maturity. We did. He had learned a lesson that no university could ever teach him. The sting of the belt had been a harsh but necessary reminder of the price of dishonesty, but the quiet, steady presence of his father at the table every night had been the real lesson, a lesson in the discipline, the hard work, and the unwavering love it takes to build a future worth having.